Well, class, hello again. Here we are with my old pickup truck, and I want to talk right now with you about the observational report that we're going to be doing for the month of October. Okay, so this is our first week of the observation. We're selecting or have selected some places that we're going to observe. I know Target was on the list, TJX, the CVS in Brighton. Some good choices, but don't be limited. Like I said, any place that you want to go, that you may regularly go with either family, friends, or children is fine. Everything from the gym to the library to wherever. Business is everywhere. So let's discuss for a second what we're trying to do here, what our objectives are, and what we want to have for a report. So let's do the objectives. The objective here is we're studying planning. Okay? Now with planning, as you look in the other videos, it's simple. If you don't know the lay of the land, you can't plan anything. Okay? So that's what we're doing now, learning the lay of the land. And that's why we learn to be mindful. We're going to be walking around learning to observe the lay of the land. So that's number one. That's why we're doing this. The second thing is, what are we trying to do in the next 2 weeks? Okay, the first thing is that we're learning to observe. Now what does that mean? That means, just like in the movies that I had you watch, The Devil Wears Prada and Kim, I want you to walk around and be mindful. Okay? Observe what's going on. Observe what's happening in the world that you're in. You walk up and down the aisles of CVS. You go to a TJ Maxx. See what's going on. Go to a Target. Go to the gym. You know, who's working out, who's not working out. I want you to just be mindful of the environment. Okay? Now, that then gets us to the second part, really, you know, the guts of the observation. And I listed in the assignment some things you might look at. Now, let's look at it from the perspective of the HR folks, okay? HR folks might be looking at the employees, the managers, the working environment, what is being used. Can we distinguish between who are managers and who are employees? What tools are the managers and the employees using? All these things are very important, not only if you're an MBA, but if you're also an MBA with an HR focus, okay? So we're observing what's happening inside this environment that we've selected. How many times do we go? You go as many times as you feel comfortable. That's the bottom line. If you think you get it all in one hit, footnote here, not really probably the best thing to do, but if you think you get it all in one hit, that's okay, right? I always say you go through it, and every time you walk into a TJ Maxx, you just observe. You walk into a CVS, if you went to the one in Brighton, yay. But let's say you went to the one in Downtown Crossing, or you went to, Needham has two. You go to the one on Great Plain Ave or the one on Highland. You can go wherever you want, okay? But you're making observations. You're being mindful of what's happening, okay? So that's part one of it, okay? Now, here's the thing. I don't want you to write anything down, okay? The minute you take out a pad and you start writing things down, people in the store start wondering why you're there and what you're doing. Now, if you were an analyst or an HR person who was being hired to figure out who should remain and who should go, the minute the pad comes out, they know who you are. So you're not allowed to write anything down. You're going to have to put it all in your head. You're going to have to remember it all. When you walk outside, you can write it down. That's number one. Number two, okay? As you walk around the store, right, maybe you want to just focus on one area. Do whatever makes you feel comfortable. Okay, so that you learn what's happening in the store. Now, the third thing is the following. Ask yourself, as you walk around the store and you make these observations, do you think every store is going to be the same? Or do you think that they're going to change the stores as they go along? Because think about it. Here we are, we're in Massachusetts, okay? Do you think the store is going to be the same if it was, I don't know, in California? If it was in Nevada? If it was in North Carolina? If it was down in Florida? If it was up in Maine? Think about that, okay? Are these stores always going to be uniform? How might you switch the store? How might you change who the employees are? Just think about some of these things, okay? Now, after you've got all that information, it's rattling around in your head and you write it all down. The next thing comes of how are we going to report this? Now, what we're going to try is something somewhat unique. You're going to have to bear with me on this. We're all online, okay? Now, if we were a firm, right, and we were called upon to do an analysis of any one of the companies that you identify, okay, we might not be in the same room. We might be spread across the United States giving this report, okay? And in fact, here we are, we're that way. We would be online giving a report. So, what I want you to do is the following. The first thing is you're going to create a PowerPoint presentation. Now, I gave you the skeleton of it, okay? It's very simple. It's only 6 slides, okay? Now, what are we going to put in the slides? The first and the last slide are probably easiest one in the front and the hardest one in the back. The front one is, who are you, what did you observe, when did you do it? Pretty straightforward, right? You want to set the stage. The last slide is, if you had an opportunity to focus the discussion, what would you focus it on? Simple, okay? Now, slides number 2 and 3. Whenever you give a presentation, you never want to start out with saying, guys, you do all these things wrong. No, 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 no. The first thing you want to do is tell people what they're doing right. Build up their ego, okay? Tell them that this is a good thing that you did, or that you saw this employee and they were doing a great thing, and that all the employees do this, okay? That's good, that's positive. So you get 2 slides that are positive. Now the next 2 slides where you're going to explain to them the shortcomings of whatever you did or whatever your observations were. Now let's talk about those. Okay? You can't be brutal. You want to be constructive. Okay? You may only have seen 2 or 3 shortcomings that you really want to focus on. That's fine. Get rid of one of the slides, or maybe you want to have the slides say, I saw X and there were little subparts of it. Okay? The format of how you lay out those slides is entirely up to you. Okay? I gave you a skeleton. Okay? You want to personalize it, put in colors that work. You want to maybe use different fonts. Okay? Think of it, you're making this presentation to me as the CEO of whatever company you selected. So if it's Target, you're making the presentation CEO of Target, TJX, same down the line. Pretty straightforward that way, pretty simple. So far, so good. Now, here's where the next tricky part comes in, but I think we can do it all working together. Slides are just slides. One caveat on these slides, though, remember I can read English, so you don't have to have a lot of data in the slides. Why? Because then we're going to go to our phones. In the same way that I posted the audio note to you, and we put it under the podcast, I want you to use your phone, and I want you to come up with a presentation on the phone. Now, why am I doing this for you? Not because I'm annoying you, okay? It's the following. Think of it this way. If we were all spread all over the world, okay, and you were making that presentation, okay, the slides might be with a third party, let's say in Atlanta, and you'd be making your presentation, and I'd be listening to it, and you would tell them when to advance to the next slide, okay? So what am I going to have you do? You're going to record a little audio on your phone. Okay? Then you can email that to me and I'll post it to the website. Pretty simple, right? And the reason we only have 6 slides, 4 really substantive ones, is because your presentation here only going to be no more than 5 or 6 minutes long. We're looking here as it's like when you go out for a meal, okay? And you're spending a lot of money on it, okay? You're not looking for a lot of bad food. You're looking for a little bit of really good food. Taste, not tonnage, okay? So, when you're all done, right, and if it's taking you longer than the 2 weeks that I gave you, that's fine. What's going to happen is you're going to have 2 things. You're going to have a PowerPoint presentation that says, this is who I am, this is what I observed, that's the first slide. Telling folks in 2 slides what they did good, because you're going to build their ego up. And in the next 2 slides, telling them what you see as the issue. And then you're going to, well, that last slide would be like your way of saying, okay, now we're moving on, now we're going to have a discussion. Okay? So that's what we're going to have. And accompanying that is going to be, recorded on your phone as a video memo, is going to be your presentation, your oral presentation that goes with that. Okay? So let's set some ground rules so we can get things done efficiently. Okay? And I want you to think about this in terms of your PowerPoint as well. Okay? We only want, if you think about it, and if you're making a presentation, most presentations like this last only 5 minutes. So our limitation is, let's say, 5 to 7 minutes. That's all you're going to talk. That's as long as your audio can be. As you make that audio, okay, I want you to look at the number of slides. And if you think to yourselves, wow, too many slides here, I'm going to bring it down to just having one good one and one bad one. That's fine. This is your presentation. That's what you think we should have. Okay? If you think that you want to spend more time on how to focus the conversation at the end because it was only, they did a whole lot good and you just want to say, there were a lot of good things going on in the store, but this is the bad thing, right? Then that's fine. Okay? I also want you to make one other assumption. Okay? And that's this. If we're at a presentation, you've handed out the document that are the slides. Okay? So, you don't have to read the slides to me because I can read. Okay? So really what you're doing when you throw up that slide, okay, is to say, you know, these are some of the big issues, okay? I've listed them here, okay? And, you know, you might want to highlight one or two things out of it, okay? There's a very famous, I just want to give you some format for this, okay? At the height of the recession in 2008, in the Oval Office, the Comptroller of the Currency, Secretary of the Treasury, made a presentation to then President Obama. And they captured this presentation on video because they were going to show it to other major business leaders so they could understand what the president knew, etc. And they start out, and President Obama, asked them, how many slides have we got here? And they said, it's a presentation, it's going to take about an hour. So, okay, right? And in about 5 minutes into it, they're reading him literally the slides. And President Obama looks to then Hank Paulson, the Secretary of Treasury, and says, Hank, I can read English. You don't have to read this to me. If all you're going to do is read me a whole bunch of slides, why don't you just hand it to me and leave? Okay? And Secretary of Treasury Paulson is kind of put back a little bit, and he then looks and he says, well, right, I understand. The presentation then ends, and it turns into a discussion of what's happening. Don't you make the same mistake. Okay? Don't give me a whole bunch of slides, okay, or your classmates, slides, and then read them. That's not what we're here for. We're professionals. Throw the information up in the slide. I can read that, and then tell me what you want me to glean out of that. That's a really powerful presentation. Okay? And that's going to see if you can see what the objective is here. It's twofold. We're meeting both objectives. First off, just like I said when I started out, me being in that truck, you're out in the field now, you're making observations, and you're reporting them to us. So we are doing real things in the real world. The second thing is, I noted from everybody's presentation here that if they're a junior person, they want to be respected for their skills, or if they want to start their own business, or they want to learn how to present. Well, you're going to present to me, okay, and to your classmates. And then your classmates are learning, and they're going to be inquisitive. Me, my job is just to be a hard case, respectful. Okay? So that's what I want you to do. That's the purpose of what we're trying to do here. Now, it's somewhat long-winded, but I think it's to give you a real idea of what we're trying to accomplish. Last thing, before I move on and close this out, and that's this. If you ever have any questions about what we're doing, you can always drop me an email. That's the best way to do it. I know I have a section that says, questions for the professor. Drop me an email. I get back to you as fast as I can because I see them come up right away, and if I'm in court, I can answer an email pretty quick. That's number one. Number two, never feel like, I need guidance and he's only there on a Thursday. If you need help, okay, the bottom line is I'm here to help you. Okay, so this is what I want you to say. If you need help and what's going on or whatever, it's perfectly fine for you to say, can we meet at the McCarthy Center? Okay? Or, given that we're trying to work in the real world, right? If you want to say, is it possible for us to meet, let's say, at the TJ Maxx in Framingham, just so we can walk around and see it? Happy to do it. That's what my job is. Okay? So, as I leave you now, again with the picture of the pickup truck, I want you to remember the following. Okay? Being in the real world is a hard place to be. It's hard to learn. It takes a lot of experience to know what I should observe, how I should do it, etc. Okay? The truck is from 2004. It's got a lot of miles on it as a result of that. So never feel like you're alone. We might be online, but we're not alone. I want you to remember that. Okay? So, whenever you got a question, feel free to text me or write me an email down. Get back to you as soon as I can, and we will go from there. Okay? Enjoy this assignment. That you can't have good learning experience unless you're enjoying it. Enjoy it. Use your own skill set in making the PowerPoint presentations, and then we'll go from there. Remember, we've got two things going on here: the PowerPoint presentation, and then limited to 5 or 7 minutes, the audio part. Record it on your cell phone. I don't expect this to be a Steven Spielberg production. It's to we'd be on the phone. The sound might not be the best. Is to get us together and talking with each other. All right? So I'll see you soon on the video. I'll hear you soon in your presentations. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a holler. Okay? Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.